Well, instead of opening up a restaurant, we're given the thought of doing a pop-up.
Welcome to Cue the Mic.
Glad to have you on board. I'm Randy
34.
Twyford, and that's Darren Worth, the one and only.
The one and only.
Thank God.
Thank God there's only one of me.
Yeah, exactly.
Randy, I got to tell you, this morning I woke up early like always, partially because my wife left for work at 4:20.
Well, I'm glad somebody's working.
Anyway.
So
yeah, she's working. She's running the accounting department solo this morning. So anyway, so I get up and, do the shit, shower, and shave, triple S,
sure.
make myself a nice pot of coffee, or I did a little AeroPress coffee. I'm a big AeroPress coffee.
Kind of high dollar deal.
Grind the beans. No, not high dollar, $39, I think, on Amazon, Randy.
Okay.
But anyway, got up and ground my Jamaican Me Crazy beans that I love so much, and had a nice cup of coffee. And so I started planning out Christmas dinner, because I've got Christmas dinner with the folks are coming up tomorrow. Oh. And then next week we got Christmas dinner with her family actually on Christmas. So I'm doing the cooking both. I finally convinced them to be at my house, which I have all the cooking utensils, as you can imagine, and a place to seat 18 people comfortably. So we've got a nice entertaining space, and for the first time I think ever this year, we're going to use it kind of both times for Christmas.
Good.
Which is good. It makes cleanup a lot easier. It makes cooking a lot easier, and I don't have to haul a bunch
Everything's
of stuff.
there. Everything's there.
So I'm going through, and I'm getting my menu down, because I'm kind of a documentation guy when it comes to that. And I got the menu, and like tomorrow we're doing prime rib, and I've got a bone in, and I'm not a big prime rib guy, but we're gonna pull one over fast on the family. I bought a pre-cooked prime rib.
What?
I bought a pre-cooked prime rib, and I tell you, so I've been doing a lot of research.
Okay.
And so I can cook a prime rib with the best of them. But I wanted to try something different, because I wanted to test it from a catering standpoint. And I thought, who better to test on than your family?
Exactly.
Right? Because if you fuck it up, they just say, get over it.
And, we'll make some burgers or whatever. Don't complain about the price.
Right. So, because they didn't pay for it.
They didn't pay for it.
So I bought this food service, and you could order them individually, but it's a 16.5 pound fully cooked prime rib, cooked to rare. Okay.
Right.
And I'm looking at this thing going, how did they get this perfectly whatever? And it was like, you know what? They seasoned this thing, and then they put it in sous vide and cook that son of a bitch in sous vide.
Sure they did.
At 120 degrees sous vide for quite a long time. And then they cool it down and put it in a damn box and send it to me.
Exactly.
And I'm like, well, what's different than me? I mean, I think probably the best prime rib you could do would be to sous vide the prime rib for a long period of time to make it tender. And so I'm going to take that sucker. I'm torn whether I want to take leave it in the package and warm it up via sous vide, and then get a hot charcoal grill going tomorrow and just finish it on the hot charcoal grill, or if I'm just going to take it out of the package and season it and just put it on the smoker and cook it. I think that's going to be I don't know. What do you think there?
Well, from personal experience, I've done the ones and taken them and put them on a smoker and finished them on a smoker. Taking them the ones that had been sous vide and stuff, and you can't go wrong with those. But I would be interested to see what happens when to go ahead and run them on up to 130 or so.
I think I'm going to shoot 125.
125 and then let it hold. So you're not going to really cook it up that much more than what it already is.
No, but it's still that hunk of meat, so it's still going to take, it's still going to take the same amount of time whether you're cooking it for. That's what I always thought was stupid about people buying prime ribs from us at the restaurant. I would smoke a prime rib to 120 degrees or 115, 120. I would take it off, cool it down, put it in a bag so they can turn around and just heat it back up themselves. And some people would do oven roasted ones. Well, if you're going to do that, just let me give you the raw prime rib and throw it in your damn oven, because it's going to take the same amount of time to get it up to 10.
Now, let me ask you this. Are you going to take it and say you're going to run it up to 1 1/4? Then are you going to set it in a cooler or a hot box or something like that and let it hold it for a while?
I was just going to put it out on the counter. Now, depending on how soon it gets done, I do have a holding oven there that I can set whatever at home, and I can set the holding oven, and I just don't want to get it. I just don't want to get it too done, because.
But you don't want to get it not done enough. Don't want to get it too raw.
If I don't have it done enough, but I got my plan. I'm going to have a pan full of au jus, homemade au jus there.
Okay, all right.
That I'm going to have au jus. So if it's not done for somebody, all I got to do is dip her in the au jus for a minute or two.
Well, yeah, that would be the advantage of doing that as compared to doing a catering where you're doing 100 people or something like that. Being able to do it that way, of having that hot pan there and stuff. But
so
those
anyway, stay tuned on the prime rib.
I think that you'll be be happy with it. I think you'll be real happy with it. So, what other kinds of stuff?
The fact of the matter is, I'll probably have one bite of it, Randy, because I'm not a prime rib guy. So
okay.
I'm just cooking it for shits. I got a 16.5 prime rib, and there's only 8 people that are going to eat prime rib. So everybody's going to take a lot of leftovers home.
There's going to be a lot go home. Yeah.
But anyway,
so what else are you
working playing on? Around with that. Well, I was playing around with that Chat GPT, the open, the stuff and recipe scaling. So my mom sent me a recipe, and I've never made it myself, but when we were kids, she used to always make broccoli cheese casserole.
Okay.
Right? And it's a broccoli rice cheese casserole mixed whatever. Sure. And cream of mushroom soup and canned mushrooms and whatever. So I'm like, and she sent me a thing, and it was handwritten. Took a picture of it, and it was handwritten. And she goes, double this recipe up. Well, I looked at canned mushrooms. I'm like, I'm not putting canned mushrooms. I'm putting fresh. So I'm going to saute some mushrooms, put fresh in there. So I went out to Chat GPT, and I uploaded the image of her recipe card, and I said, please double this recipe and substitute fresh mushrooms for substitute the canned mushrooms, substitute in fresh mushrooms, and please put it in a printer-friendly recipe card. And like I normally say, anything with ChatGPT, right? Instantly comes back, here's the recipe. And it converted, it knew that how many raw mushrooms it took. It took 16 ounces. It took 16 ounces of raw mushrooms to come up with the 2 small cans. That's what the conversion was. It knew that, right? And so it also added, and it told me the ingredients and told me how to cook the damn thing. Even though the recipe didn't say how to cook it, it told me what to mix first. And then at the end, it says that the fresh mushrooms, especially if you saute them, will add a lot more depth of flavor on the bottom of it. Right?
Incredible.
And so, yeah. And so, but what's funny, just a little bit further, is I asked it a question about how long it was going to take to cook this prime rib and how long it was going to take to cook this. I got a nice Duroc bone-in pork loin, right?
Okay.
Because I'm not a prime rib guy, but I'm a pork guy. So I'm going to cook the pork loin too. And so anyway, I was asking it questions, and I asked about the internet, right? I asked, hey, can you search the internet, whatever? And it came back and it says, we don't use the internet. We don't use the internet because there could be a lot of misinformation out there. So their it's based upon data. Now they use the internet, don't get me wrong, but it said all their data was based on stuff that was compiled prior to 2022, right?
Okay.
So because once it becomes 2022, there's enough stuff that whether something's bullshitted and de-bullshitted and whatever, it's not like the live news that half of it's wrong.
Right.
It's by using that old data set, that's where it's grabbing its information. It was the craziest thing in the world, just trying to understand this. But, I'm really into this
you really
AI technology.
You really are getting into this AI stuff.
Well, especially scaling recipes, because if I've got a recipe for the restaurant that's for 50 people and I need to do 15, all I do is upload the recipe and say, hey, this recipe is for, and if it says on the sheet that it's for 50 people, I can upload an image, I can upload handwriting, I can upload anything. It will read that. It's smart enough to read it, but then it will scale the recipe down to whatever size I want to scale it to.
You're kidding.
Like for instance, I had somebody ask me the other day, because people always ask me, hey, just send me the recipe for your Asian glaze. Well, okay, so here's a recipe that we made from scratch ourselves. It's been featured on diners, drive-ins, and dives.
Right.
I'm probably not giving up just that recipe to anybody.
Right.
But I thought, what the hell? So I went out and the recipe makes 2 gallons. And I'm like, I want to make this recipe into a quart. So, hey, and I just took my MarketMan, my inventory system. I took a picture of it. I put it up there. It read it. I said, make to a quart. And it come back and said, okay, this may tablespoons and this may whatever. It was like 24 tablespoons. I'm like, no. I said, I want you to convert this recipe to cups. Unless it's less than a cup, then make it tablespoons. And then it told me how to mix it and and then you just copy and paste, you can put it wherever you want. I mean, but the technology out there is just crazy.
So you're just taking a picture of this recipe.
Yeah. And scaling it, or I can take a picture. So I've been taking all my old handwritten recipes, taking pictures of them, uploading and saying, hey, digitize this into a recipe card format.
So my
recipes don't even have instructions on how to do things. Like if I'm making cookies or making bread,
right.
It just says, here's I know how to do the knead and whatever. This is going out and telling me step by step, just like a recipe, how to do it. I mean, you could create a cookbook and.
Right. I would be curious to see how many other people are doing this.
Yeah, probably not many.
I know, but I would be curious how many chefs out there are doing stuff like this, using AI for recipes and things like that. I'd be curious to know if there's very many doing that kind of stuff.
I'm guessing, my guess would be that a lot of the top social media influencers are using it. Because imagine, I know I could do this, Randy. I could say, here's a recipe I found online for barbecue sauce. Okay.
Right.
And I could say, please use this recipe please write this recipe for barbecue sauce, but make it spicier. And it would go out and tell me, it would change the recipe and tell me what to put in it to make spicy, whether that's
you really think it would.
That's whatever.
You really think it would?
I guarantee it would. I guarantee it would. This thing has not failed me yet.
Huh. And you've got more and more comfortable. You see, my problem is I just took your advice and downloaded it and got it the other day. I don't feel comfortable using it yet. You've used it more and more and got more comfortable. And just like the uploading recipes, I'd fumble dick around with trying to upload a recipe now, and that's something we'll have to have a conference call on of doing, and
right.
But you've got so much more comfortable. You're really using I'd like to say you're using it to the max, but you're not even using a tenth of a 10% of the potential of it, but
no, right. There's not. I mean, because really the potential is to throw a huge amount of data at it, like my product mixes out of the restaurant, along with profitability of every menu item. and turn around saying, okay, how many of each am I selling? Summarize how many of each am I selling, and what's the most of, what should I be selling more of, and then asking it, okay, how do I promote this, right? Because if handballs is very profitable for me, and I say scale my handball recipe to X, and now off the handball recipe, now I'm making the handballs. Now tell me how to market handballs in Des Moines, Iowa. And it will say, oh, make this social media post or use this hashtag or whatever. So handballs are the latest craze. A really good chef, not to change the subject too much, but a really good chef, George Famaro, who owns a restaurant group that has a bunch of very nice restaurants in Des Moines. And he's a big Smokey D's fan. So I know George. But he put something out there about handballs last week. About an Iowa iconic handball. And for those that are listening that don't know what a handball is, think meatball, but with ground ham and pork instead of beef or whatever. So kind of the same thing. You got eggs and panko or breadcrumb or whatever. And so we serve them every Saturday. We serve 80 or 100 dinners, handball dinners, and people come from all around the state to get our handballs. And it's normally got a very ketchupy brown sugar glaze over it.
I've had them, and they're
very,
unbelievable.
very, very popular in the state of Iowa. So he posts something about handballs out there. His Facebook post alone had over 1,000 likes, but had 952 shares.
Wow.
That people shared it. And I mean, you don't get much more viral than that.
No.
So I sent that off to my social media gals and I said, check this out. And so they went and looked at the post and what drug it out. And I mean, it's just crazy. So then as we market our handballs, it's all about getting something to go viral, right? That's all you want it to do is go viral. But anyway, so I got my recipes, I had to get my shopping list done because this is tomorrow.
Right.
And I'm
don't get in a hurry.
Don't
get ahead of it too much.
No. I mean, I'll be at the grocery store tonight about 7:00 shopping for everything tomorrow. And the guy's got to go to breakfast. So I'm going to adjust. I think we're going to eat at 11:30 or so. Well, the prime rib probably needs to go on at 7:30. Well, I'm at breakfast then. So I'm either going to crank up the heat and cook it hotter, or I'm going to slow her down, just to do that. And so, just put the probe in it and just try and figure out, right?
Speaking of going to the grocery store and getting stuff, I hate even telling you this because I don't want you to mess up your Christmas dinner and stuff. But when I tell you what I've got this hankering to fix, you'll probably get in the truck and come down here. And I'm going to go to the store this afternoon. Yeah, you're right. Red beans and rice.
You're going to get some pork steaks?
No.
You're going to get red beans and rice.
I've just last couple days, I've just had this desire. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to town and I'm going to get the stuff because I know I can find the stuff. And we're going to have red beans and rice either tonight or tomorrow. And we're going to do red beans and rice.
It's funny, Randy. You see that?
Yeah.
Can you see that on the screen?
Yes.
That's the leftover red beans and rice because I had the same hankering on Wednesday. I had the same hankering on Wednesday.
I got to find that recipe you sent me from the recipe that we got. It's because I know you'd sent it to me at one time. Yeah. So, and so I got my shopping.
That recipe. So the one thing, are you going to go shopping at Walmart or no?
Probably. Either that or Hy-Vee.
So one thing that worked really good, really good, and so people know, when I went to Puerto Rico, Randy, we kind of got hooked on red beans and rice. And so Randy had a chef,
Chef Chongo,
out of Puerto Rico, make a video on how to make homemade red beans and rice. And it was the most hilarious video. But it taught me step by step on how to make red beans and rice. And so, I had to kind of figure out the language and what he was talking about. But one of the things with red bean and rice in Puerto Rico is they use squash as a thickener. And it's a special kind of squash that I can't find in the U.S. Right? And so I did my research. That was back when I was on Google, not on artificial intelligence. But
just imagine what you'd have done now.
Oh yeah. Well, so it said butternut squash was the closest substitute. So I'd go to the store, I'd buy a butternut squash, I'd peel it all up, I'd cut it, and I only needed a cup of it for my red beans and rice, right? So what am I going to do with the rest? Oh, you throw it away and wasteful. Well, now you can go in the frozen vegetable aisle at Walmart. You can buy frozen cubed butternut squash.
Already cut.
Already cut, ready, and all I did was took it out the freezer, let it thaw a little bit, just a little bit, and made my red beans and rice. But the only thing I would change about that recipe, and I can send it to you again, Randy, when we're done.
Please do.
The only thing I would change is I thought the sauce to bean ratio is a little saucy, that I think maybe we need to cut down on the sauce or increase the beans. But you increase the beans, then you're increasing the batch. So the batch I have is enough for at least, I had two big bowls of red beans and rice, and I had 3 leftover bowls.
But you got to have plenty of sauce in there for your rice to make the rice real good. So,
yeah, right. I'll just send you the recipe. Send the recipe,
and then I figure while I'm in there getting my red stuff for red beans and rice, to make it like I'm back home, I'm going to get a rotisserie chicken. Because down there they call them fume chickens. They call them fume chickens. They're roadside chickens. The guys that cook chickens alongside the road, they call them fume chickens because they're cooking them alongside the road, and there's plenty of gas fumes and stuff from all the cars sitting there. So they call them fume chickens. So I'm going to do a rotisserie. I'm going to get me some rotisserie chicken and then some red beans and rice. And you talk about just like being back in PR. That'll be just like being back in PR.
That's just man. Ooh. Now if you just had the ocean breeze.
Oh yeah. Well,
salt water.
I'll turn the fan on and that'll be fine.
Oh. So anyway, yeah. So I think, but when we get to Sherry's Christmas, normally they're the ones that, of course, they want the Wagyu prime rib, and I'm like, okay, I'm not a prime rib guy. So we asked them, what do you want to do this year? And they said tacos. Huh. They wanted to do Mexican. They didn't want to do tacos. They wanted to do Mexican.
Uh-huh.
So, and I can do Mexican. So I've got that recipe for next week. I'm going to do probably some Wagyu, some Snake River Farms Wagyu skirt steak tacos for steak tacos.
Right. That'll be good.
I went to Fred Robles at Rio Valley, who's probably one of the best cooks in America, from a Mexican food. And he gave me how to do pork carnitas.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to do some pork carnitas, and then I got to figure out what I'm going to do with chicken. I got to do something with chicken. So I have like a beef, a pork, a chicken taco. I'll probably make some enchiladas. Got some girls in the kitchen, probably whip me up some tamales.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've got some maybe original tamale makers.
Right. And then we'll do some, I'll do some Spanish rice, Mexican rice. I've got a Mexican street corn casserole,
that'll be good.
Right. From a catering standpoint, I'll get that done. So we're going to have us a big old Mexican fiesta. And I think I will do some white people tacos, because Sherry's mom will look at all the other stuff going, where's the ground beef tacos? So I'll probably make some white people tacos too.
There you go.
But anyway, so what else? You cooking anything today?
I have got some stuff on, and I've got my Chef IQ probe. And I'll tell you what, I just got this. I got it. You mentioned it. And I'll tell you what, it's the, as the old saying goes, slicker than snot on a doorknob thing I've ever seen. Here's the box that it comes in. Oh, shit. Because I've got the unit out there. It's called the Chef IQ Smart Thermometer. You'd said somebody gave you one at the Royal.
Yeah, at the Royal. When we were at the Royal, we were the part of the Legends, which mean we'd been there 20 years. This company come around and gave us a free one.
I'm telling you what, I've bought a lot of junk over the years, as you well can imagine, and you have too. Stuff is like, boy, that would be a hell of a good idea to get. And what happened to our light here?
You just went dark there.
Yeah, I noticed that. There. Huh.
You're still dark.
I don't know what happened there.
We got some difficulties going on here. If you're only watching on YouTube, If you're listening to us on Spotify
it'll get better
or Apple Podcasts.
It'll get
better?
Well, I think so. Okay. I'll fiddle fuck around with it here in a minute. There you go. There you go. It brings out my better side. I don't know what the fuck happened to it. I threw the box up there and whatever. But anyway.
So anyway, we got the Chef IQ.
Chef IQ.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, that thing is saved. Matter of fact, that makes me look more natural like to me. I almost look like one of those Olin Mills. You remember the old Olin Mills pictures? You'd go to Sears and Roebuck, during the wintertime and get the family pictures of the Olin Mills, and everybody would be standing in front of that wooden the carpeted thing with your hands and all looking off to the side. I kind of got that Olin Mills look with a backdrop, from the Bat Cave here. So, but anyway. The Chef IQ,
the Chef IQ, yeah,
the Chef IQ thing. I bought that, and I think I paid $160 for it, and I'm like, well, I've pissed away more. So, and that thing has been the handiest apparatus I have ever bought. You take, and it's got the little base to it, and it's got two probes. You put two probes in, or you can put one in. Put it in the meat. And you got to put the base, it'll hook up to Wi-Fi, and you hook it up to Wi-Fi, and you put the probe in, and then it syncs with your phone. On your phone, it's got an app on your phone. On the app, you put in there what temperature you want to cook to, and then, and it'll have, the nice thing of it is, especially with cooking in an old hickory pit, you've got a closed-in box and everything. It will read the temperature of the ambient temperature, the internal temperature of the pit, plus the temperature of the meat. So it'll give you both temperatures, and that'll come up on your phone. Then after it's acquired some data of what the temperature is and what you want it to be at and what the temperature of the pit is, it'll tell you when it will be done. And by God, it's usually right on the money. It saved me. Since our kitchen is a separate building from the house, of course, and our pit's out there, and I can be in the house here. And the other thing of it is it hooks up to an Apple Watch, so you don't have to be carrying your phone around with you. So I can be in town, and I'll get a notice that'll say, your the meat's getting into a critical stage. It's going to start. You need to get. It's going to be done here in another 10 minutes or whatever you set.
How are you doing? How does that work?
What do you mean?
How does that work? Because I thought you still had, in order to get those updates, I thought you had to be still hooked up unless hooked up to your network. But are you saying your phone's at home and your Apple Watch is on your wrist?
No,
your phone.
I can be anywhere on my phone, and it'll still get it.
Well,
it's on the internet.
Smarter than I thought it was.
It's on the internet. Once it gets in, the Wi-Fi hooks up to the internet, then it goes wherever you want to go.
I didn't know that, because I've used my Chef IQ once or twice just on smart stuff, and you're exactly right. So I had a meter probe that is one of the competitors, and that was known. Well, what I found, and I live in a metal building, and my smoker's outside. Well, it's spray foamed and metal and whatever. So I thought, well, I was cooking a brisket overnight. I'm like, I'm just going to put this thing in the brisket. That way I could reach over on my phone in the middle of the night and just check how things are growing. Right? If I wake up. Well, it disconnected as soon as I got to my bedroom.
No,
So you're saying I can go anywhere?
Yes. Our house is a pretty good distance from the shed.
Yeah. Oh, you're 50 yards. Wow.
And it's a metal
25
building.
Yards from the...
And remember, that probe is inside a metal old hickory pit, ELDX.
Yeah.
And then you just got to have the receiver within distance, so it's receiving from the probes. And you're good. And you can be going around, and the watch will come on and say, hey, things are getting close to being done. You might want to think about getting back to take a look at stuff. More or less is what it's saying. And
that's
it's
crazy.
usually true to
not just a competition. Not just a competition thing, but and the problem is I don't use it in competition because the probes are so fat.
Yes.
I don't want to leave that hole in the middle of the damn brisket, right? Now, for home cooking and whatever, nobody really cares.
Well, and the only thing I don't like, I was going to use it on some pork steaks, those boneless pork steaks I did the other day, but there wasn't enough room. The pork steaks, they were about an inch thick, 3/8, about an inch thick. And there wasn't enough room, and I don't think I would have got an accurate temperature on them and stuff. But for a bigger piece of meat, for a brisket or points, stuff like that, or a turkey breast, I've been using it a lot on. We've been cooking a lot of turkey breasts, and for those turkey breasts, I mean, they're just the checkers. And then we've been letting those turkey breasts set. And what's pretty neat is being able, once we let those turkey breasts set, is watching the temperature raise. Everybody says, oh, you really, you want to let meat set because it'll raise in temperature after you let it set. And you've always heard people say that. Well, this really proves the fact that it does, because you can sit there and watch the temperature. The neat thing of it is on that EDX, you can see on the ambient temperature, it kind of looks like my bad heartbeat, because it just goes like this, because it shows when the burner kicks on, and it's on an incline, and it'll keep it leveled out, but it'll just boom, 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 shows when that burner kicks on. Pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting to watch. To see what everybody, the stuff but to be able to see it, and then it has it in a pie, in a graph, here's your cooking temp, here's where you want to be, here's where you're at, and then it comes together. I would highly recommend it.
It's and last minute Christmas idea. This thing will come out Monday before Thanksgiving or Christmas, so last minute Christmas idea for that.
Yeah.
And I think from the commercial standpoint, and when I talked to them at the Royal, they were talking about getting into that commercial space. So imagine having 16 of these probes. Now, of course, some bitches will lose them and break them and whatever.
Yeah,
so,
right.
But imagine, not opening that pit, because we know that old hickory is always hot on the top right rack, right? It's going to be done the quickest. So imagine sticking everything in there so that you don't even have to open the pit and check anything until you know that thing's. And I could see a digital readout. I mean, it's crazy what technology's done for us.
Oh, I mean, and it saved me. Well, Marla made the comment. Mark this one, etch this one on the wall. She said, that's one of the best things you've ever bought. Believe it or not. And I mean, just the fact that I can be in here watching TV in my office and look at it and go, yeah, that shit's about done. So instead of having to run out there, probe it, and stuff. So
check it, come back in, back out. You're probably getting fat with getting less steps.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Not the fact that I'm sitting around eating all the time and stuff. So
yeah, well, it's time. It's winter time, even though you won't tell.
Yeah, we're all going.
So what else is going on? What else is going on? Cooking turkeys, and what else is on your mind?
Well, kind of thinking about what if kind of as a kind of a side, kind of not to bring the thing down. A lot of people might know we lost one of our probably one of the pillars of the barbecue community over this past week, Ruben Gomez. A lot of people in Memphis in May. If anybody's very familiar with 17th Street Barbecue, he was real close friends with Mike Mills. Ruben Gomez from Albuquerque, New Mexico, he passed away this past week. He hung out with us at Memphis in May a lot, and down at Murfreesboro a lot. Great guy. Had just stories that you couldn't imagine. Used to be a DEA agent. Could
undercover in Mexico.
Yes.
Right. In
back
drug
years
cartels.
ago. Years ago.
Oh boy. Yeah. I mean, he saw people getting heads chopped off and shot on site and whatever. I mean, just crazy. Made a hell of a salsa. Was a hell of a cook. So I just feel sorry for Bonnie because his health deteriorated a little bit over the, last few years. They haven't made the trip out to 17th Street.
Yeah.
And it's just, we miss him. We miss Bonnie. She's still going strong, but yeah, we'll all miss Ruben. He's
so I wanted to pass that along.
Super guy that will be missed.
None better. But got to thinking a little bit, what would a fella have to do about opening up a restaurant? Kind of been thinking a little bit about that. What would you need to do? What's all entailed? Maybe people would be interested.
Well, Randy, if I were you, here's what I would do.
All right. This is from a guy that's got a successful restaurant, doing very well up in Des Moines, a big metro city, everything going right.
Yeah. So if I were to open a restaurant in Springfield, I think the first thing I'd do, I'd jump your ass in the car.
All right.
And I'd drive to Des Moines and I'd look over and I'll show you our entire operation.
Oh, okay.
And when I get done showing you the entire operation, I'd turn you around and I'd kick you flat in the balls for even thinking about stupid shit like that.
I knew that was coming. No,
I'd just kick you right in the balls because there'd be a lot less pain. There'd be a lot less pain in the long term because that pain of me kicking you in the balls would go away after a while, and the pain of owning a restaurant's going to be there forever.
You're going to be there forever. Well, instead of opening up a restaurant, we're given the thought of doing a pop-up. Now, there's a lot of chefs around the country, especially in the bigger cities, doing these pop-ups. Especially up-and-coming chefs. And I know people say, "Oh, are you the chef?" No, I'm just a half-ass cook, if that. And but don't you get it? Are you the chef? Are you the chef? No, I ain't the fucking chef. I ain't no chef.
Yeah, my answer is do I wear funny pants? I ain't wearing no damn funny pants.
And Crocs, no, I don't do that, Well, you wear Crocs, though.
No, I don't wear Crocs.
Oh, sorry. Anyway.
Scotty Johnson wears Crocs.
That's right, I forgot. Anyway. But anyway, we're given some serious thought about maybe doing a pop-up, barbecue pop-up. We got a location. The guys, excuse me, guys interested in having us come in there, kind of weighing out, the good, the bad, the ugly, kind of what we should do, whether we should do. We've got another location. The whole pop-up thing might end up being a pretty decent business for us. I say about opening a restaurant. A restaurant is the last thing. A restaurant is the last thing on my mind. I have no fucking desire to open up a restaurant. Everybody goes, "You ought to open up a restaurant." You ought to open up a restaurant. Yeah. No, that my dad always said, never say never because never is a long time. But I can pretty well fucking guarantee you that it's never going to happen, that I'm going to open up a restaurant, especially at my age. When in me in my early 50s, I'm not going to open up a restaurant,
Yeah. Early 50s?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, little sidebar off of there. Anytime it seems like a restaurant in Des Moines goes under, right, closes down, I get a phone call. Okay.
Right.
I'll get a phone call from, like this week, we had a barbecue restaurant go down out in Pleasant Hill. And so the economic person from the city of Pleasant Hill who's helping marketing this space calls me up and says, "Hey, Darren, you interested in this?" And I said, "Well, not really, but I will take a look. I will take a look at the operation, whatever." I said, "Send me the financial statements." So they send me the financial statements for this restaurant, right? And so it's in a nice location, right? And their marketing said, wow, there are over 12,000 visits per year now to this restaurant. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. Until I did that math and said, wow, that's only 75 people a day.
Right.
So it's all about market. But I dug into the financials of this thing, and it was only I was doing 500,000-600,000 a year in revenue and losing 200,000 a year.
Wow.
Consistently for the next 3 years. And then I looked at the rent they were paying and the rent that they were wanting to charge.
Sure.
And I mean, instead of 600,000, you'd have to do $1.5 million out of that location. Now, could we do that? We could probably get that done, I would think, with our name around town and stuff. Now, is it going to drag some away from our current business? But
sure,
it just didn't make sense to. I mean, somebody will fall for it. Somebody will pay them, and they wanted money for the restaurant. Hey, I want money. I want to lease you the building, whatever. I'm like, this doesn't work financially, and you got to understand the financial part of it. But I mean, I think pop-up, away from that, I think pop-up is probably a great thing for you, as long as they were sporadic, not every week.
Exactly.
And as long as they were kind of in the winter season when you don't have that food truck out on that street. Right.
Well, and I mean, the guy that. Go ahead.
Well, but part of my thing is, because you talked about whether it's a golf course or an event venue or a winery or whatever, and I think that's a great idea. Now go find the place next to the damn. Where's your food truck's highest sales day? Next to the damn hospital, isn't it?
Right. Right.
Where can you do a pop-up in the wintertime, whether it's the cafeteria or whatever, because you've got that entire audience. Now do a lunch pop-up inside a building.
Instead of planning on a dinner, just doing a dinner.
Or a dinner. But I think either one is fine from a marketing standpoint because you're going to get a feel for the restaurant. I think the number one thing you have to overcome is how much food do you cook? Because if it's successful and you run out early, then you got pissed off people, right?
Exactly.
If you prepare way too much food and nobody shows up, then you lose your ass, right? So it's how do you prevent that? How do you, in your mind, how do you how do you take the middle road there?
Our thought is maybe we sell tickets. We pre-sell plates, and that way that'll give us an idea of how much we're going to sell. Give us a pre-sale idea of how many plates we're going to sell, and that'll give us a good base. And then those people will be guaranteed their meals. Then based on that, say if we get 200 plates. Then go, okay, well, we're having a pretty good turnout. Let's do so many more and do, for walk-ins.
Right. And so if you get that much popularity, I think it probably comes to the point. Does it come to the point that, let's say you sell 200 plates, right?
Right.
And I've heard you quote Mike Mills many times about what to sell and how much to sell, right?
Exactly.
And what would Mike Mills say?
Mike Mills always said when I first started doing some of these festivals and stuff like this, and I always remember this. In Mike's words, and it makes so much sense, and it's so simple. It's like, I'll never forget, we were going to do some event, and I said, Mike, how much food do you think we should take to this? Mike, give me that look, and he goes, how much do you want to sell? How much would you want to sell that you're going to be happy with selling? And I said, well, if we could sell this much, I would be really happy. And he goes, that's how much you take. And he goes, if you sell that much, you're going to be happy. If you run out, you're going to be really happy because you sold what you wanted. Now, could you have brought more? Yeah, you might have been able to sell more, but you're still happy because you sold what you wanted to sell. So that's why I'm thinking doing some pre-sale tickets to get a base, and then, okay, we've got that much, and then take so much more for where we're going to be happy and go from there. One of the guys,
and so what happens if you do from the pre-sale, Randy? What happens if somebody come back and you all of a sudden you got 250 pre-sales, and that's about all you can, because you still got to be able to handle this. You're not
sure.
I mean, you're used to the food truck. You can move fast and whatever. So as long as you got the right staffing, you can move a lot of food.
Right.
But do you ever envision that you get 250 pre-sales, and if you do, you go out to the public and say, we're sold out. We will not accepting walk-ins. Right?
Yeah.
Because then it's just like a catering. You've pre-sold, right? And you got to have you have that much food and a little bit extra, just to make sure didn't screw up something along the way. But then, do you ever see that happening where you shut it off, saying, "Hey, it's 100% pre-sold out"?
Well, in my opinion, you create more of a market for yourself, because people, the next time you do it, the next month you do it, people go, shit, I better get in on that because they sold out last time.
So that's the big thing from the restaurant standpoint. And I think about this a lot because I listened to another podcast. We talked about Niverland, a guy and a restaurant owner up in Minnesota, and he talks about people making reservations, and I think we maybe even talked about this, people making reservations and then not showing up, and his dining room sits empty. So if we could train customers to do exactly what they're doing with the pop-up, if I could train customers to say, hey, if you're going to Smokey D's on Saturday night, let me know that you're coming on Saturday night and about what you're going to order. And it'll be, if everybody did that, if you could have a thing saying, hey, like at our chicken restaurant that I'm sitting at today, if we knew what we were going to need to produce in a day, then I'd know how to staff it. I'd know how to raise chicken, whatever. But instead, and fried chicken's easy because, the chicken has a shelf life of 5 or 6 days raw. So all I'm doing is thawing it out every day as I think I'm going to need it. And if I get behind, then I quick thaw some chicken breast out and I'm able to fry them in 10 minutes. So that's easy. Barbecue, not so easy. So it's a matter of how do you predict? And I think you're on the right track there with a pop-up with pre-sales. I think that's a good idea. What else? What else do you envision? So give me what you think a typical plate that you're going to do at this pop-up. Are you just going to do 1 plate or 2 plates or 5 plates?
We'll probably just, no, we're going to keep it really simple. Probably do ribs, brisket, burn-ins, and then our sides, like our potato casserole, our baked beans, our mac and cheese. We're not going to get very elaborate at all. It's going to be a pretty basic barbecue. And one of the guys that we're talking to about having a pop-up at his location, he seemed to think it would be pretty successful just for the simple fact that he says there's a lot of people that would probably like to try our barbecue, but don't like to eat it in their car, being that they come to the food truck and they and take it home with them. He goes, this place has a full-blown bar and we're going to have music and everything at it. And so, I think he's got a good point there. This will be a fact that we've got, that people can sit down and eat and the whole bit. But it's going to be a pretty basic menu. It's not going to be, all kinds of deep fried this and appetizers and, all kinds of stuff. It's going to be a pretty basic barbecue menu. And I think that's the way we want to keep it.
So are you going to make it where, let's say you have a brisket plate, a burn-in plate, or a rib plate? Are you going to have a brisket plate? Here for a brisket, you get a 1/2 pound or a 1/3 pound of brisket. You get these 2 sides with it. Are you going to put it in there, or does it become a la carte? Because the more you make it a la carte, the tougher it becomes to execute out from the kitchen to thing without a lot of people, right? So if you're dealing with this pre-sold stuff, are you better? I think you are, but are you better to, here's what the barbecue plate looks like? And And maybe the barbecue plate includes some of all.
Well, yeah, kind of a
maybe you get
sampler
a quarter
platter.
pound of burnt ends and a quarter pound of brisket and two bones of ribs with,
Exactly.
hey, if you want to add a 4-bone rib to it, fine, you can. Here's your price. But you don't, the more options you give them, the more complex I think this project's going to be.
Well, I think of it more as of doing a basic brisket plate with your sides, burn-in plates with your side, and a rib plate with your side, and then a combo plate. You know, be able to try, you know, a little bit of brisket, a little bit of burn-ins, and that. And I think that'll be our most popular plate, kind of the sampler per se.
Right. So every day, because we make it well known that you and I are the kings of retherm when it comes to brisket and pork and stuff
Right.
when we go out the
Right.
catering. We've talked about that many times.
Right.
About the consistency in the product going out and the speed to go out from retherm. Are you doing retherm on this?
No.
Or are you doing fresh to order?
We're going to do fresh to order.
Okay. So I'm going to be the devil's advocate shooting at you right here.
Okay.
So I'm assuming you're going to cook whole briskets or flats or whatever.
Whole briskets.
But are you going to Texas style them? Are you going to thick cut it?
Thick cut it, correct.
So you're going to thick cut brisket, but if they order it from you every day, they're not going to get a thick cut brisket. They're going to get a thin cut brisket.
Off the truck.
So you see the challenge. You see the challenge. Now, I think there's a way around that challenge. Is you call it a little bit something different for the pop-up.
Exactly.
Hey, we're doing a pop-up. Here's a Pitmaster pop-up. We're special for this event. We're offering Texas-style brisket.
Exactly.
Now, you don't tell them they can't get them a truck, but when somebody comes to the truck going, man, why is your brisket different? Well, that was our pop-up. That was our Texas-style brisket.
Exactly.
This is our Twyford-style brisket or whatever.
Exactly.
I think you just got to be cognizant of that so that when somebody comes and eats it and goes, fuck, I'm stopping at that food truck again. Right?
They're going to get close to the same thing, but it's not going to be.
This is so good. Right. So you just got to be very cognizant of that, I think,
right,
from a customer standpoint, because you don't want them to be, if they're going to get the best barbecue meal in their life, then they're going to go to the truck, and what are they going to expect?
They're going to expect the best. They're going to expect the best barbecue
of their life.
Exactly. So we're giving it a lot of thought. As you can tell, we're pretty close to making it a go. That we're going to do something, and we're pretty excited about it. The other thing is staffing. You know, that was one of our concerns about getting staffing, and we've got that all taken care of. The guy that has the venue, he's going to be able to take care of that, and we're going to be able to take care of staffing and stuff. So we'll be good with that. So
So I kind of hope that date matches up, because I'd volunteer. I think it'd be fun, you and me in the kitchen.
Oh yeah.
Put Marla and Sherry out front running plates and whatever. I think we'd have a hell of a blast. I'd volunteer for that.
Oh, and I've already got
my in the wintertime here.
I've already got my my main person committed to it. Megan.
Oh yeah, who's that?
Megan Woods.
Oh well,
Megan. Yeah, she's already. Megan's, she's like,
yeah. If you got Megan,
I got it dicked. You know, I've got Megan on board. Told her what I was doing. She goes, count me in. So I have no worries now, you know. So, you know, I've got Mego in, and Danny, her sister, that's helped us, you know, all through these caterings and stuff. So if I've got Megan and Danny in the back of the house with me, I'm good. I'm good.
So tell me you're thinking through it all. Are you going to serve this on china? Are you going to be on paper plates? Let's talk through all the elements of this.
Well, the thing we've got is I've got half sheet pans. I've got a bunch of half sheet pans from when I was in Puerto Rico. And I've got half sheet pans, and I've got the butcher paper cut for them. And then we'll probably get paper cups for the baked beans and the potatoes, because you don't want them running all over the sheet pan. But we'll use the half sheet pans for serving it up on those. So.
Okay. So utensils, you got real forks, you got plastic forks.
No. We're just going to use disposable forks. Get real good. We use a real heavy knife, fork, spoon packet with a gingham napkin and stuff that we use for caterings that are real heavy. We'll just use that and serve that out with a packet and stuff. So everything's got it, and wet naps and stuff. So, and
yeah, no, and
we're going to keep it simple.
I think it's thinking through. You got to keep it simple. Do they have holding equipment? You're gonna hold. Yeah. You got steam wells. You got Schaefer's, or what are you gonna do?
All that equipment's there. Is the steam at both places that we're talking to. They've got holding cabinets and steam wells, and both of them have got a place where we can bring in our pits and bring in that ELDX we have on wheels that we've got on a trailer. We can bring in and we can do some cooking right there on site if we want to. So
maybe do a little, just an idea from a marketing standpoint is maybe give away a couple meals a week leading up to it on your social media.
Yeah.
And get people, hey, tag somebody and put them in a drawing and draw them once a week. So you get people sharing this and tagging people. And then all of a sudden you'll start to create, here's all these people that now you can invite to this thing just for the cost of a couple meals, which ain't crap for you, from a cost perspective, but kind of one of those, get somebody else involved. Who would you tag for this, to do? And the best thing is, you get people paying for stuff they don't show up, right?
Right. So we're pretty excited about
it ahead of time for the prepay stuff.
Oh yeah, that's what we'll do is people go online and buy their tickets online and stuff, and we're pretty excited about it. It's kind of came together here in the last week, and that'll be our project for January, getting everything put together and stuff. And we're going to have music, and this place has got a full-blown bar and everything, and so we'll have a full bar and everything. And so,
so my grandson Griffin, he'd want to know one thing.
What's that?
He wants to know one thing with every meal. What's for dessert?
I haven't really thought about it, but I have thought about it. And probably what our most famous dessert is bread pudding. And we would probably do bread pudding if we did a dessert. And
I saw somebody tagged us out on Facebook the other day, how they went out and took your advice and made the bread pudding.
Oh, really?
And said it was amazing. Yeah.
And so
I'll have to find that post, and so they made it.
So we'll I was thinking about that the other day. I want to keep it simple, but we'll probably do a dessert, and we'll do the bread pudding, and it'll be real hot and bubbly and ready to go, so it'll go along with it. So
we got some hot things working in our dessert world.
Really? What do you got going on?
It's kind of super top secret at this point, but let me tell you, it's going to be a game changer.
Okay.
And I got this thing, and I went all in on it. I invested quite a bit of money in containers and stuff like that. So and last night Sherry, just laying in bed, she had to come up with an idea, and she came up with an idea that is kick ass. But now I got to get the marketing done behind this, but I think this is going to be a game changer.
Good.
From a dessert standpoint at Smoky D's.
Can't wait to see it. So
yeah, it'll be interesting. We can probably talk about it offline, but we're not going to talk about it online till maybe next week. Who knows? Maybe that'll be everybody's Christmas present, Randy.
There you go. Well, as we go along, we'll have to keep everybody up to speed how we're progressing on our pop-up. What's happened this week, what's not happened, what trial, because we're going to have some trials and tribulations as we go along on this, and then hope that the week that we don't have, that we plan on it, we don't have like a 12-inch ice storm show up and stuff like that. So but that's
because that'd be a cluster. You get 250 pre-sold, and then all of a sudden you have to cancel it or postpone it because of that. I mean, oh boy, there's a lot to that. You gotta have that backup plan, because if people can't come out, and then you got to have another date already set, probably ahead of time.
Yeah,
saying,
exactly.
Hey, here's our in case of bad weather, here's our bad date.
And then the other thing that's come up is, are we going to do carry out? Are we going to have it so people can do carry out? If they don't want to come and sit in the restaurant, if they want to just do takeout. So, whether we'll do that or not.
Lots of things to think about. I mean, I think I encourage you, just like think like you're the customer and you're walking in the door. How do you want to see it? You're ordering, and how do I want to eat this food? And what do you do about barbecue sauce? Do you got barbecue sauce on the tables? Do you got barbecue sauce in a cup? It's just all those little details about
the menus, putting the menus together. How are we going to do the menus?
Everything. I mean, there's so much work. I'm just glad I do this on a daily basis versus to having to do it one or two times, because it's so much easier on a day. It's kind of like our chicken restaurant. I threw my food truck into the chicken restaurant, just give them something to do over the winter time, and it threw my payroll way out of whack at the chicken restaurant. Right. And so I went to them and I said, okay, we're only open Wednesday through Sunday. So I went to the manager and I said, Alex, let's open 7 days a week. So much easier to be open 7 days a week, because then you can just prep in smaller batches instead of trying to run out of stuff on Sunday. And then you got to work like hell on Wednesday to get inventory up by the time you open. So half the time, you run out early on Sunday because you didn't want to make a bunch. And then Wednesday at lunch, nobody could get half the menu because we weren't prepped up enough. So now we just opened up this last week, 7 days a week. We took the same payroll, we spread it over the entire thing, and now it's humming. Now we're humming the first week. Nobody even knew it. I didn't even know we were opening on Monday. I didn't even know till about 10 o'clock Monday morning when I walked in the kitchen. I said, "What are you doing here? It's your day off." He goes, "No, we're open today." And I'm like, "Well, better get on the phone with the social media gals and push this thing out." Get that. And I tell you, Monday and Tuesday, we did 3/4 of the revenue that we would normally do, and not one person knew we were open.
I'll be damned.
Yeah. So quite the thing. So I'm looking forward to what's going to happen as people know that we are open. So, okay.
All right. I think that's about
enough for today.
All right. We're about at the end of the trail. So appreciate everybody signing in and listening to us. And everybody's got the skinny of what we're thinking about doing a pop-up. So we'll keep them abreast of that. Going on. Keep them abreast of what's going on, how that progresses or degresses as we go along, and kind of the trials and tribulations. Everybody can kind of see how things go on that. So we appreciate everybody signing in, and
we'll get the we're since we drop on Mondays, we'll be dropping a little Christmas present on Monday morning next week. So we got to figure out time, because it's like Thanksgiving, it's Christmas massacre week. But I think we got a good solid plan in the kitchen, and we're going to see how orders roll in, and so we'll have to find time to record this thing sometime during the week or next weekend, and so we can drop it on Christmas morning, because who needs presents when you got Cue the Mic?
Oh, exactly. Got old Randy and Darren. Who the hell else do you need? So,
Randy,
thanks
Randy
a bunch Thank you guys for signing in. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey guys, Emma here. If you haven't already, follow us on social media. We are at Cue the Mic Pod on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter X. There I go. We are also on YouTube at Cue the Mic Podcast. You can find all of our episodes on there. Like those videos, comment on those videos, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you guys get notified every Monday when new episodes come out. And if you haven't yet, rate our show. Leave a little review. Let us know how we're doing. We love to hear the feedback.
Okay, we're out.
Boom.